Hello, everybody. Welcome to the weekly astrology report for the week of August 3rd to August 9th, 2025. One of the big themes of this week is the sun is really active in the sign of Leo. Now, the sun moved into Leo on July 23rd. It's going to be in Leo until August 22nd. So, this isn't the only week when the sun is going to be in Leo, but boy, is it active this week. And, Leo is fixed masculine fire ruled by the sun. Leo is the courageous, heart centered sign. So we're going to be feeling our sun, our 3D selves being impacted and uplifted by this energy. Let's kick it off on what's going on Sunday the 3rd. Sunday the 3rd, we have Uranus in Gemini, quintile the North Node in Pisces. So this is a really cool, fortunate way to begin the week, or just whenever the week begins, I suppose, is a interesting statement, but it's a really nice energy in the sense that we're going to be it's subtle energy, it's higher vibrational energy. The North Node is reminding us why we're here, why our soul's here, why, and also collectively where we're headed. And in the energy in Pisces, which is good, which is informing this eclipse season, and we're being prepared right now to head into the next eclipse season in fall. I'll talk about that in the next video that's coming out about the astrology for August 2025. But Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, is really about the individual culling, collecting, integrating the wisdom of where we've been, the lived truths of why we are who we are, why we know what we know, why we believe what we believe, but really from an authentic place. If there's the opportunity there for us to really step into the why. But then on Monday we have the sun really starting to activate in Leo. So the sun is both semi-sextile Jupiter in Cancer, and it's also biquintile the North Node. And so there's going to be a little bit of, good fortune in a biquintile, which is reminding us that we're kind of already qualified. Nothing's outside of ourselves. We don't necessarily have to go and get a new job or move, although those things can definitely help the rebirth process. But the idea is also wherever you go, there you are, right? So we are already qualified. And then but there is some tension with the semi-sextile with Jupiter and Cancer, and that's really about, there might be a sense of an energy bottleneck or block or friction, and to trust that whatever comes up is a teaching moment, and we can trust and maybe even release the way that we have previously believed that things need to happen or be in the world the way that we need to be in the world. On Tuesday, we have the Sun in Leo, quintile Uranus in Gemini, and that's kind of bringing things full circle for the quintile that started off on Sunday. And so Uranus in Gemini, quintile the sun, is going to help us if there was any friction that came up on Monday. And all of this, it's not really like pinpoint in the sand. I like to remind us that these are energies that this is when they're exact, which is when they're the most powerful. But all of these energies are things that we can probably start to feel a few days before and a few days after, which is why I like to do it in a weekly sense. So having the sun quintile Uranus is going to help us ground down and embody the change that we seek, and really have a visceral aha moment about that. We also have on Tuesday Mercury in Leo, semi-sextile Venus in the sign of Cancer. That's going to be it's a little bit of a communication challenge, but I would also kind of just say, like, the idea is that if there's any friction that we experience, any of those energies that don't quite flow, to take a step back. So part of the theme this week is also the bigger picture, trusting the flows of energy, that whatever is happening is actually ultimately always, everything's not just always working out, everything's always in harmony. The yin and the yang symbol, right? The black and the white are always balancing, and there's that little dot of white and the black, and a little dot of black and the white that reminds us that it's not binary. It's not black and white, because even the white has some black in it and the black has some white in it. So that's kind of the nature of the bigger picture. On Wednesday, we have the sun in Leo, semi-square Mars. Mars is changing signs in the middle of the week here, and Mars is now at 0 degrees of Libra. If you'll remember, I mentioned in the last couple videos that Mars has been in Virgo and hasn't been super duper comfortable. Mars is a sign of action. I am action, forward momentum in its uplifted sense, right? But Virgo is about detail oriented everything. Don't proceed. You can't just go forward. You need to know where everything is. Cross your I's and dot your T's. And oh, by the way, it's about everybody. So Mars was feeling a little bit like disheveled in Virgo potentially. Now it's in Libra. It's going to be a bit more comfortable, but Libra is going to help to Mars, if it chooses, our Mars energy, our action energy, to find forward momentum by the energy of balance and harmony and justice and beauty and truth, which is a really potentially fortunate place for Mars to be. It could also be challenging if Mars is pushing too much. So to have Mars semi-square the sun here, and Mars is going to be active the next couple of days of the last part of the week, is reminding us to trust the friction that shows up, trust the things that might not be working out the way that we've expected, the way that we've come to understand that the world works. Part of what's happening this week is we're being invited to release the notions of things being a certain way. Things have always been a certain way. This is how we get from point A to point B to point C. This is just how we do it. That's not necessarily the case, and especially not now. We have so much being beamed down on the planet all the time, but especially in 2025, and especially right now. I mentioned that 2025 is a numerological 9 year, and that is a year of transformation, a year of endings and beginnings, a year of rebirths. 2026 is a 1 year. That's a creation year. So this year, by default, even numerologically, regardless of all the outer planets changing signs, this is a big year for us in general. And we've got tons of exclamation points with all the planets doing all the aspecting that they're doing. We also have on Wednesday, Venus in Cancer, quintile Chiron. And so this is cool because this is going to remind us that the things that are the challenges in our lives, the things that might not feel, the things that feel like friction, the things that feel like they might be pulling us back, the buttons that are only ours to be pushed, the challenges in general, that those challenges are gifts. And that's the idea that everything's always right on time. And some of those things are going to make us so uniquely ourselves, are going to make us into the person that we already are, and make us into the leader and the servant and the giver and the provider that we're going to become in the next year of time. We then have the sun on Friday, sesquiquadrate Saturn in Aries. And this is an interesting kind of inner conflict, struggle for balance between the sun and Saturn. So this is meaning that this might feel a little personal if something isn't going the way that we're used to having it go. But we also have Mars in Libra doing two things, trining Uranus in Gemini and opposing Saturn in Aries. And so, the trining Uranus in Gemini is going to help us to see, to trust the 5D energies, to trust the picture that's unfolding. But the challenging aspect of the opposition to Saturn and between Mars and Saturn, and the sesquiquadrate between Saturn and the sun, that does indicate that there's going to be a little bit of 3D, like, we're going to have to rein it in a little bit. So, but trusting that the reining in, it's like we are steering a ship, And we're navigating waters that are going to require us to be able to act quickly, to maneuver quickly. So part of what's happening this week is there might be some things on the ship that are just really heavy and are no longer needed. And maybe it's time to throw them overboard or to give them to somebody else or to just release them. And that process, depending on how we choose, because it's a free world, how we choose to look at it can be liberating, can or can be a little bit disorienting. But the idea in the overarching is that, the outer planets are all in communication here. Like I've been just saying a fair amount whenever they come up to aspect. The friction and the tumultuousness that we feel in our world is really right on time. It's perfect. And this brings me to Saturday. We have the Sun in Leo sesquiquadrate Neptune, and we also have Neptune opposing Mars. And so that's going to, again, end the week with a little bit of challenging energy in the 3D world. Mars in Libra and the Sun in Leo. Well, Libra is cardinal air, Aries is cardinal fire, Leo is fixed fire. And so I say all that to kind of say that fire and air, things can move quickly. Cardinal energies are about leadership. Fixed energies are about strength. And with Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion in the sign of Aries is really reminding us that, or inviting us to check in with ourselves. How are we the embodiment, or how have we kind of gone along with, I would say one of the words that's coming through that might resonate here is like, it's a subconscious embodiment. It's not just I'm going to choose to be the friction in the world, but in what ways? Just by breathing the collective consciousness air for the entire state of our life this far. How are we still somehow on autopilot with the old world as we're moving into a new transformed world? And that's kind of the question at the end of the week. And it doesn't mean that we are going to need to be forced to make changes. It means that we're going to be invited to, as I was saying, to release. But it's also going to feel pretty natural, because I think that, in the same way that when you start eating something that's good for you, it becomes less and less difficult because you really start to feel better. If you've ever had the experience like that, like it's going to be something that we can do very naturally and organically if we're kind of keeping our feelers out. So this week, one of the general energies is to read the energy and to trust the energy and to trust ourselves, and not just reading the energy, but also in being able to navigate. That there's going to be new ways for us to navigate. Pardon my barking dog, Hamlet. I'm about to close up the post here, but there's going to be new ways to navigate. We're going to be able to see glimpses that we can trust ourselves. So it's not just a leap of faith, jump off the cliff and hope for the best. It's going to be this kind of incremental thing if we're really keeping our ear to the ground or our feelers open as to what in fact is going on. So have a blessed week, and I will see you next week for the weekly forecast. And a quick note to, if you haven't already joined my email list, I'm going to invite you to do so, because I've got a couple exciting things coming in August and September. One is I'm opening an online herbal store with tons of goodies that are astrologically based. The other is I'm thrilled to roll out at the end of August, early September, a new course on astrology, tarot, and the Kabbalah. If either of those things interest you, I always offer some special discounts for folks on my email list. So I will put a link somewhere in the information in this post. All right, tons of love. See you soon.